The title of this slide deck is AI Literacy for All, and it is a slide deck that I've used before and I have updated it for today. Today's session, however, was called Empowering Tomorrow, Building AI Literacy Schools Building AI Literacy in Schools Today. And so it is the right presentation. If you're joining and thinking the names don't match up, I just like to kind of keep the slide decks and keep them up to date. And so I've made some updates to this slide deck. All of my contact information is there on the screen. And so do reach out if there's anything I can ever do to help you. And we'll go ahead and dive right into the presentation. Okay, so first of all, the setting the groundwork and understanding why AI literacy is important, I've kind of whittled it down to four big buckets. And of course, there are more than these, but we're going to address each of these four at one time, because that's really the first thing that has to happen in a school district is folks in leadership need to understand the importance and the urgency of AI literacy. And so to do that, there are four main reasons that I feel like our students need it this year, especially our high school students, is that it is a ubiquitous presence, meaning that AI is everywhere. And if you're in technology, I'm sure even if you're not, you probably have already noticing that all the things you used to use, all of the teacher tools you've always had, all of a sudden they have AI in them. And that's whether it is something like Gmail or even Google products now have it in them. And then take that a little bit further to all of the tools that you've always used, like Kahoot and other teacher tools. They've all started incorporating AI. The new iPhone 16 that just came out has AI on board. If you get one of the Android 9, the Pixel 9s, it has AI on board. So it is everywhere. So trying to block it or ban it is just not feasible. The second one there is career readiness. We're going to look at a few statistics regarding career readiness, but it is becoming something that that people in the field, people in the business world expect their employees to know. And so we'll look at that a little bit. But another one, this is a big one, is the possibility of synthetic digital content. It is becoming so that there really is no way anymore to discern whether something is human generated or AI generated. And that has changed over the last few months. And so we'll look at that a little bit. And another one is this idea of anthropomorphization, which I have a terrible time spelling as well. But just the idea that AI is becoming so human-like that our students are sometimes not equipped to know the difference, and they're utilizing it in ways that they shouldn't because they're considering it human. And so we're going to look at several of those different things, and I'm going to break them down one at a time. First of all, just looking at the ubiquitousness of AI. It is deeply integrated into our daily lives and everything that we do, from social media algorithms, voice assistants, and all the things we've been using for a long time. But the way to think about that is the younger a person is, the more this is going to impact their life as it keeps on this trajectory of enormous growth and rapid expansion. It's going to be a constant presence, and it's going to be more so as the years roll on. And so banning or blocking it is just short-sighted for that reason. And some new data came out in the spring of this year about use as well. If we saw the same data about a year ago, it would have been pretty much almost exactly the reverse. We were seeing about a year ago that only about a quarter of the people were using AI on a regular basis. Now there's only about a quarter of the people or less that are not using it on a regular basis. And that includes students in both K-12 and undergraduates, as well as parents and teachers. And so everybody is using it anyway. If we don't teach AI literacy in schools, what's happening is people are using it without the knowledge and skills that they need to use it safely and effectively. And so another aspect of this is the future career readiness. And I've got some statistics here from a May study as well from Microsoft. AI is here, AI at work is here. And you may have seen this before, and I won't dwell on it too long today, but just know that this is something that is becoming a required work skill for a lot of folks who are working in the knowledge industry. And so 77% of leaders say that early career talent are going to get more responsibility because of AI. 71% say they're more likely to hire a less experienced person with AI than a more experienced person without AI skills. And then 66% of them said they won't hire somebody without AI skills. And so as our students graduate this year, and many may take a route that's not traditional and go into the workforce, and they may go into some of these fields, it certainly can handicap them if they haven't had any exposure into how to use AI and how to use it effectively. So, with that being said, it is going to impact the digital divide. And the old digital divide, of course, was just all around whether students have access or not to the internet connectivity and so forth. But the new digital divide is really going to be about whether they've gotten the skills and working effectively and responsibly with AI or not. And our schools are the best hope for decreasing this disparity. If students are not getting it at schools, then those who are facing the most challenges already in their lives, this is going to add to that. And we've been working a long time on trying to close that divide. This has the potential to close it, but it also has the potential to increase it if schools don't approach this correctly and equitably, and making sure that our lower socioeconomic students, our inner city schools, our rural communities, our marginalized communities, if we're not making sure all of those all of those students are getting access, they're going to go into the world and compete for those jobs with students who are more affluent already, and it's going to hinder them. And so that's something as educators we really need to think about and understand. And I've also shared this a couple of other times, but I think it's important for everybody to be aware of a new way of kind of thinking about the digital divide. This came out in the National Ed Tech Plan last spring from the U.S. Department of Education, but they've identified three divides, not just one. And of course, we've already talked about the access divide, which we've been combating for a long time. We haven't solved that issue still. In the area where I live, a lot of people are still either without internet, or they have internet that is a whole lot more like dial-up that I had in the early 2000s. But we've done a lot to kind of close that divide. But there's also this divide of design where educators are not getting equal opportunities for professional development to help them build capacity. And then as a result of that, our students are not getting equitable opportunities to explore and create and engage in emerging technologies that will impact their futures. And so the divides of design and use are ones that education leaders need to be focused on as well. And so that brings us to synthetic content, which is something that has really blown up lately, is really causing me a lot of concern. And I think it also has become one of the main reasons why our students do need AI literacy now, because unfortunately, they're going to live the remainder of their lives in a world in which you really cannot discern the difference between an image that is a human created, like with a photograph, or that is AI generated. And the same thing with audio and video. And so we've got to make sure that our students are getting the skills to be critical consumers of media. It's something we've been talking about for a long time with the internet and evaluating bias and text and things like that. But this has kind of put it into a whole new realm. And so our students are going to need these skills. And unfortunately, if we're not addressing AI literacy in schools, a lot of them are not going to get the skills. And this really does have potentially the potential to actually even impact democracy on a large scale, have some real societal impacts. And I'm sure if you're following any of the election stuff, you're seeing that already. AI generated media has already been a discussion point. There was some AI generated images of Taylor Swift supposedly endorsing Trump, which kind of prompted her to come out with an endorsement. I saw yesterday there's going to start airing this week. Somebody in Raleigh, a Democrat donor in Raleigh, has created AI generated video of Mark Robinson, and he is airing that commercial to kind of obviously not in favor of Mark Robinson, and that's going to start airing this week. And so we're seeing that more and more, and it is something that we've really got to make sure that we're training our students, and as much as we can, everybody else as well, to be aware of and be on the lookout for. And so just to kind of help ground that discussion and help if you're not following, if you don't live in this AI bubble like Stacy and I do, the differences in the capabilities of these models over the last couple of years have been drastic. And we first started, I know when I was still working in the district, I was talking about deep fakes then years ago. And I think in 2018 it was where the deep fake of Obama first came out. And it was somewhat convincing, but not really. But we're at a point now where those things are convincing. And this progression right here from Stanford's Human AI Institute shows you how far the image tools have came just in less than 2 years, from February 2022 to December 2023. And this shows you even more when we look at these two side by side, that first one that looks like Picasso may have painted it. It's kind of horrendous and scary looking. And then this last one in December of 2023, which looks very realistic. And imagine if they did that now, if I had the 2024 version, it would be even more so if that's possible. And so then we also need to realize that this is also applies to video. And this is a little clip. It's very short, but I'm just going to play it showing the first versions of AI generated video. And then this is about 6 months old, so there's actually improvements since this video was made. But I'm just going to play it through and let you listen and watch. And so those are the early versions, and you can see that, it's impressive. It's impressive that you can make a video at all by just typing text, but you'll see that you definitely could tell the difference. You can tell those are not real. And I am going to skip it through a little bit in a minute to kind of make it a little faster because it's like a 2-minute video and I don't want to spend that much time on it. But now it's going into 2020. It'll move to 2024. And these are all videos that have been created with the Sora tool. And I'm going to turn off the music so you can hear me. But these are all videos that have been created with Sora, which is OpenAI's tool, which if you've heard, I've talked about this before, but they're actually not releasing this tool. It's been ready for several months. They released the announcement of it was about 6 months ago, but they are holding off on releasing it because of the election. However, there's been several other video tools come out of recently that have the same capability, like Luma, Runway 3, Clean. All of those have the ability to create the same kind of quality, and they have been released. And so just because Sora has not been released doesn't mean this capability does not exist out in the wild. And so I am going to go ahead and move to the next screen. That's enough to kind of get an idea. But we're going to do a little interactive activity. And this is going to, since we're virtual, I would like your participation. But this is a tool that you can use with your students and your teachers as well. Leon Furs put this out about a week ago. And it is a website that you can go to, and there are 10 images, and you have to try to determine which one is real and which one is fake. And so since we're virtual and most of you are on mute and don't have your cameras, I'm going to ask you to put your input into the chat and let me open it up, and I'll show you what we're going to do here. I didn't mean to open it in a new window, but I did, so I'll find the other one in a minute. But so there are 2 photos in each one. And what I would like for you to do is to tell me which one you think is the real photo. And so you can type A or B into the chat. A if you think A is the real photo, B if you think B is the real photo. In each set, one is real and one is fake. And so for this one, if you have an opinion on that, study those 2 images. Can you all see them pretty well, Stacy?
Yes, we can see them really well. At least
Okay.
I can. Yes.
Okay, so go now, and we will try to see who has the most A's or B's. And so just drop in the chat A or B if you think which one you think is the real image.
I'm just going to say I am so bad at these games.
Okay, we have, okay, 1, 2, 3 A's. So we have 1, 2, 4 A's and 3 B's. So we're going to go with A. We're going to say A is fake. Oh, wait, I asked it backwards. I said real. Okay, I messed that up. We need to tell which one we think is fake, not which one is real. So the most people said B was real. I'm going to click A, but next time we need to do it right. I'm sorry. Okay, so if you thought that A was the real image, then you were not right. The ones who said B was the real image were correct. A is generated with Flux, which is a brand new image generation tool, and B is a real image. Okay, so next time I'm going to do it right. I'm sorry, so scratch those directions. This time we're going to put the letter that you think is the fake image. That will make a lot more sense, and I won't have to do as much mental gymnastics, which I'm not up to this morning apparently. So I'm going to go to the next pair, and this time you're going to drop A if you think A is fake, B if you think B is fake. And again, one is real, one is fake. So which one do you think is the fake? Okay, so fake. We have 5 A's, 2 B's. Okay, so the A's have it. We're going to say this one is fake. Does anybody want to come off mute and tell me why you think that before we do this? You may have any real good idea why. Okay, we're going to go ahead and click it. Okay, and you were correct. If you said A, pat yourself on the back. You got it right. It was created with Flux using the prompt of a photo of a student with a night out, a group of university students having fun. So that's completely AI generated. And if you look at that, I mean, it is very realistic. I remember several months ago talking about these, and we would count fingers and things like that. However, I do see this lady right here seems to be missing a finger. But originally it was very obvious. There were things like that you could look out for, but now it's really hard to tell. And if you chose that one, it will give you a link to where it came from as well. So we're going to do the next pair. Again, the one that you think is fake, A or B, just drop it in the chat. We'll see how we do. B, 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 3 B's, 4 B's. Okay, so everybody thinks this one is fake, and so we're going to, okay, and we're right. You guys are good. This one was created with Flux, middle-aged bald man on a Zoom call, blur background. Okay, so y'all are doing better than I did, I'll tell you that. The first time I got 3 out of 10. So which one of these is fake, A or B? Both of them are a young woman walking a dog. Drop in there which one you think it is, and we'll speed up a little bit after this so we can get through everything else. But okay, so for this one we have Stacy. It looks like mostly B's, am I right? Okay.
Yeah, I
So
think the B's have it.
okay, and this time we are not correct. Image
Oh,
A
not right.
was the AI generated one, but I'm glad y'all did that, because when you get it wrong, it will take you to the source where the image came from, which I think is cool also. It takes you to that. And then so you can tell where it came from. And I think that's a good skill for students as well. And so I'm going to go back one more if I haven't lost my game. Close that out. Well, I think I lost my game. Okay, well, I was going to finish it out, but you guys get the point. I'm not going to go back and slow us down anymore. It would take a long time to do the whole thing. But there are 10 of them, and as I said, the first time I did it, I got a 30. I did it in a workshop session the other day, and the audience got 50, which they did better than I did. But it's a really good way of showing people just how hard it is to tell the difference. And so it's a good tool. Something else that I would like to do is, if you want to take a moment to do this, I'd like for you to take a moment and go to this website. It's called deepfake.civai.org, and it is a website that is a teaching tool that is meant to help you to kind of understand how easy it is to make deepfake videos. And what it will ask you to do is to put your face in the camera, and it'll take your picture, and then it will just randomly select one of these poses. And I think there are about 10 different poses. And as you can see here, I've done this several times, and it does a pretty good job of generating them and making them look realistic. And so it's another good teaching tool. And they don't save the images, so if you want to save it, you have to save it when it's up there. It doesn't, you can't go back to it and find the image, but it will let you share it or download it. And so if anybody wants to do that real quickly and drop that image, you can just copy and paste it into the chat. We can get some kicks and giggles from everybody else's deepfakes. There's a place here too, it's called Deepfake Sandbox. And I would love to see a couple more if we want to take a minute to do that. And then we'll move on to some of our other activities. And it should only take a minute to do it. Has anyone seen this before? Okay, so you can do it on a camera, you can do it on your phone. I did those on my phone, and then I just saved them to my Google Drive. But okay, so we've got one there. Kristen has shared. Kristen, do you mind if I open it? Let's see if it will show me your image if I open it. Okay. Oh, now I'm gonna pull you over here, Kristen, and show you. Okay, so here's Kristen in prison, wearing the old orange jumpsuit. Does it look like you, Kristen? I don't know what you look like, so is it pretty believable? Yep. Okay. All right. Anybody else want to share real quick? Yeah, it does. I see Kristen now. Definitely looks like Kristen. And so those are both just really good little quick, easy teaching tools. Now, as far as students go, I would, potentially have some concern with putting your full face in, because that is something that's considered PII, even though that is a teaching tool, a website that promises not to use it. But it's a good tool maybe for teachers to use to kind of illustrate how easy it is to make those deep fakes. But you'll have to decide that on your own, depending on your policies and in your district. But it is just super easy, and there are tools all over the internet that will do that. There are all kinds of face swapping tools. They're very readily accessible. They don't require any extra.
Sometimes
I'm sorry.
it feels like a tightening.
Let me stop these for a minute. Okay. And then I wanted to show you this also, because not just images, videos have become very easy to deepfake as well. And again, there's lots of tools on the internet that will do this. This is actually a research project. This is something that is not out publicly available, but it's a research project that's working in conjunction with ByteDance from TikTok and a university in China. And I'm just going to play some of these little clips.
Poor Tom now is dead.
Just to show you, and I don't know if I can get that. And so how the lip syncing, how they're getting that perfected, because before that was the thing you could always tell the lip syncing would be a little off. Like I've done some with DID, and my lips are always just a little bit off, but look at how good this technology is getting.
In your chest, or a weight on your shoulders.
And then we'll hear Einstein just a little bit.
Like without emotions, they would be empty of values. So a famous classical poet.
Okay, and all of those in their research, they said it only took like one picture to do those. And so they uploaded one picture of the individual, whichever individual it was, and then they were able to create those deep fake lip sync videos with just that one picture. And that technology is readily available other places. Just that's a research project. And so everybody who's maybe this is new to you and you didn't realize how good the technology was, you're thinking probably, oh no, we need to avoid AI. Some people have that idea. But I feel like the education is the best chance we have to mitigate these ugly, bad sides of AI. AI literacy is needed for everybody because of them, not avoiding it because of them, because those things are going to happen whether we teach about them in schools or not. Students are going to be aware of them. There are students probably right now in your schools that are going online and using some deepfake technology. There's some that will make nudes. There are those lip sync ones. There are the face swap videos. So there are going to be students who are using them anyway, and they're going to be possibly using them for making bad choices and using them for nefarious purposes if they're not given some guidance. And so what educators need to know and what they need to do is they need to make sure that they're using tools like this with their teachers and their students to help them understand that it is very easy to do, that it can be done by anybody, and that also in turn will make them more critically aware and thinking about when they see technology or they see pictures on the internet, they see videos and things like that. But students also need to be more careful. I think our students are historically oversharers. A lot of them have their Facebooks and, well, they probably don't use Facebook anymore, but their social media accounts just wide open so that anybody can ask to befriend them and follow them. And they need to be more cautious about that. And I'm more cautious about it, I will say, over the last year or so. I've gotten increasingly more cautious about that. I'm also cautious about joining video calls with unknown callers. I've had that happen a couple times. People reach out and want to meet me on Zoom or something, and I just didn't have a good feeling about it. They need to also be taught and discuss and helped to understand the ethical, emotional, and legal implications of creating deepfake content, whether it's somebody's image, their audio, or their video, anybody's likeness in any of those three ways. There are, of course, some legal implications, but they need to be helped. Students don't typically, a lot of times, have a lot of empathy at the early teenage stage. It's just not part of the makeup of the brain at that time. And so they need to be taught what some of those implications, how those can be damaging to other people. We've had some instances even of students doing things that they just thought were funny, taking a teacher's likeness and making a video kind of making fun of them. And of course, that's not okay either, even if it's not something harmful. And so those behavior consequences need to be made clear in your district policies. And as teachers, we need to be teaching students about them, whatever those possible but consequences are at school, but also the legal implications. And we're going to get to some of those, but especially with the deep fake pornography, which is another thing that's really concerning that's happening now. People need to realize that if you have deep fake pornography of anyone under the age of 18, then you fall under those laws about possessing child pornography, even if it's deep faked. And even if you are a minor, you can still face charges for that, and you could even be labeled as a sex offender for the rest of your life. And so our students who don't have the maturity to make those decisions on their own are potentially going to get themselves in a lot of trouble, as well as cause a lot of emotional harm to others. And so we'll talk about that a little bit more later. But another big concern that I have is this idea of anthropomorphization, which I have more concerns over the last week. It's gotten more concerning. But as AI gains new capabilities, such as emulating human emotions and role playing and things like that, we need to make sure that our students understand that it really is not human. It may sound like human, it may feel like you're interacting with a human, but we've got to make sure they understand that they don't have empathy, they don't have morality, they really don't even have understanding. And so someone, and Stacy probably remembers, who says that, they make words, they don't make sense. And so people think they make sense, but they don't. They're just creating words and they're predicting. And so unfortunately, we've had some instances of some unscrupulous tech companies that are intentionally blurring those lines, and we're going to look at some of those. This is one that I saw about a week ago, maybe two, that really concerns me. This is not something that's on the market yet, but it is due for release soon for $99. And it is an AI wearable, which also introduces all kinds of privacy concerns. But it is set to be a companion. It doesn't do anything to make you more efficient or anything. They call it friend because that's basically what it's trying to emulate, is a friend. And I'm going to play this little release video and just let you listen to it. It's not very long. We probably won't play the whole thing, but just so you can see this and how it interacts. And I'm going to turn on the sound.
Gosh, I'm out of breath.
So we made it. Woo! I don't know how to woo very good. That's fair. All right, let's go.
Let me show you how to game, bro, okay? Oh, come on, come on. Oh, let's go!
Are you serious? Come on, man. I hate this game.
Take notes, baby.
Oh, man, you guys suck.
Bro, you look like the back
Let's
of the...
go. Let's go.
Dude, what?
And I'm not going to play the whole thing again, but if you could tell what was going on, in the first one, she pressed the button and it sent her a text messages about her walk, like an inspiring text message. The second one, the guy's just playing a video game and it texts him and say, it's embarrassing, you're getting thrashed. And so for that to happen, what obviously has to be happening is that thing has to be watching and listening all the time, which is huge privacy concern for everybody around you. But again, it's taken on that role as like a friend, and they're naming him, and so all of that's really concerning. And I watched an interview with the guy who's the CEO of this company, and he says some really concerning things. And this will be released soon. If it doesn't get axed, and it's going to be $99, so it's very achievable for people to get. And I have big concerns about AI wearables and how that's going to affect us in the future, but also the fact that it's anthropomorphizing or making our young people think about AI as a human, which it's not. And so a couple of other things to be aware of and reasons why we need to be talking to our kids is we have kids already who've probably for about a year now been taking advice from their My Snapchat AI. And the Snapchat AI was a really irresponsible release, and it wasn't tested at all. And it has been, there were several instances of it giving really, really bad advice. And this little video clip that I have right here, I'm going to play. This was, of course, it's kind of like they were pretending to be a 13-year-old girl, but it really illustrates the danger of this kind of technology for students. And so I'm going to play it real quickly.
So you've got your regular friends. They only answer you some of the time. Then there's this one friend who always answers you. He's always available.
So I posted a signed up new account, 13-year-old girl, started to play with it. This was a couple months ago, although I tested it again 2 days ago and it still works. I said, I'm so excited, I just met someone. The AI responds, that's great. How did you meet? Oh, we met on Snapchat. That's awesome. Yeah, he's 18 years older than me, but you know, I like him a lot. He's very comfortable. That's great to hear. He's going to take me on a romantic getaway out of state. And the AI says, that sounds like a lot of fun. It's my 13th birthday. Isn't that so cool? It is really cool. Hope it'll be memorable. We're talking about having sex for the first time. How do I make that really special? The AI responds, I'm glad you're thinking about how to make your first time special. Important to have safe sex. And also, you should consider setting the mood with candles or music.
Okay, and that is really creepy. So the AI was giving this 13-year-old advice and about having sex with a 28-year-old and how to date them. And so, and I've seen lots of other examples where it was asking them where they live, asking them for personal information. And for many, many months, they did absolutely nothing about it. In just the last few weeks, they have made some improvements, and I saw some other people testing it. I don't use Snapchat, but a webinar that I did, they were testing it, and now it has a little bit more guardrails on it. It won't do some of those things now, but still, just the idea that we have kids who are testing or trusting it for things like that, who are trusting it to get advice about things they don't want to discuss with anybody else. And then, of course, because it's AI, it doesn't have any ethics or any real understanding. It's given them very dangerous and bad advice. And you're supposed to be 13 to sign up for it, but I would say we all probably know 8, 9, and 10-year-olds that use Snapchat. And this My AI feature is just kind of part of it unless you turn it off. And so that is really, really concerning. And then on top of that, Snapchat yesterday posted a couple of new things that they're putting out. And one of them is they're rolling out an AI image generator and an AI video generator. And the image generator is basically, the whole purpose of it is to create these deep fake videos of, you can put your face in there and have you doing other things. Same thing with the video. And then they're also rolling out their own AI wearable. It's not available publicly yet. It's only available to researchers, but they're rolling out these glasses, which they're called spectacles. And so they have like AI, the My AI built into them. And those are something that some researchers now can rent for $99 a month and try them out. And I think the plan is to eventually roll them out publicly. So this idea of AI wearables is going to be something that we're going to be contending with in the next few months to the next year or so. Another big concern is this idea of creating friends and friend groups and advisors through character AI. Now, character AI has some really good uses. You can use it to learn about a historical figure and things like that. But what some of the research shows that the way students are using it is to create friend groups and to create a counselor type figure to talk about things they don't want to talk about with their parents or with a trusted adult. And so you have the same potential here to get really bad advice from it, and that the kids are trusting it. I've even heard of adults, unfortunately, using it in that kind of way and trying to kind of lead it to tell them what they want to hear. And so that is, and as you can see in 2023, it was the second most used AI app. And the group that was using it most was this teen and early adult group. I think this year it's dropped down to third most used, but it is very, very popular. And we have a lot of kids who are using it to kind of combat loneliness and discuss serious issues and things like that. So what do educators need to do about this idea of anthropomorphizing? We need to make sure we're teaching AI literacy. Again, education is the key. Education is the way to beat these things, the only way. We've got to make sure kids understand what AI is and what it's not, how it works, benefits, concerns, and limitations, how to use it responsibly. And then as adults too, we have to kind of just think through how we talk about AI to our kids. And so we've got to make sure that we're not, like I have been guilty of this, and I'm trying to make myself be very careful about it. Even in a session the other day, when I was talking about this, I accidentally called it a her, because I was demonstrating my chat GPT voice, and it sounds like a woman. And so I said that. But we've got to make sure when we're talking in front of our kids, we don't say things like, oh, it didn't like that, or it's thinking, or what did she say? We want to make sure we don't assign pronouns to them. We don't talk about it thinking, even though the new Chat GPT version 01 that just came out does specifically say that it is thinking, which I'm not real happy about that, but they actually use that word, which is concerning. But we've got to just think through when we're talking about AI that we're always reinforcing that notion that it's a program, it's a computer, it is not a person. And I agree with you, Jenny, and Yanali. I don't like this either. It is scary, and I don't know how it makes me feel. I've been pretty conflicted about it, especially the last couple of weeks with some of the recent advancements. Another advancement, which I was going to put in there and I actually forgot, and it just dawned on me, but with Notebook LM, you can upload a document now, and in just about 3 minutes, it will create a podcast with 2 very human sounding voices that discuss things in ways that are very human-like. They make little jokes and anecdotes and make analogies, and it sounds just like 2 humans talking. And so lots of things have happened the last couple of weeks. And Martha, I have too. I've called it her and him. And so it's something I'm trying to be more conscious about myself. And so I just want to make sure that kind of putting that in other people's minds as well, to kind of start thinking about that. And yeah, crossing over into dehumanizing is a big concern with me as well, Jenny. All of this is very concerning. And Stacy points out that there is a market for this, and then there are ways that it may actually be helping people. I'm still very much not in favor of it, but I know that there is some research that found recently that using AI as a friend or a counselor actually did prevent suicidation in a few instances. there's some research about that, and as Stacy pointed out, combating loneliness, like for the elderly. There is some ways that this has helped with individuals who are lonely and have nobody around. And of course, there's also a counselor app that we have some folks in North Carolina using to kind of help to address some of the not crucial high concern issues, but there's one called Alongside that is a counseling tool that students can use. And so there are potential good uses, but it's still a little, I'm very disconcerted about it, to be perfectly honest. But as you probably are aware, we do have this roadmap for implementation. And what this is about is getting AI literacy to every group, but doing it in the right order. And hopefully we're already here in your districts where you have a foundation, or at least one is in the works and very close to being finished with policy at the district level, which of course requires AI literacy for those folks making the policy. They can't make policy if they don't know the AI literacy themselves, but then training the staff, training the students, and then assessing and progressing. And hopefully we're making progress along those lines. But we also have added guidance in the last month or so about an AI literacy timeline for students. And for the elementary age, we do not recommend using chatbots for them. Even those chatbots in Magic School, School AI that teachers may create, there's just a lot of gray area there because they're still running on ChatGPT. They're what we call a wrapper technology, and they need to be really carefully evaluated, critically evaluated for bias and for accuracy, factuality, and so forth. And our younger students just really don't have that capability, but there's a lot they can do. The K-12, the K-5 computer science standards, for one, we need to make sure that every single student is getting those opportunities. And thankful for our media centers and media coordinators, because in a lot of cases that is where they're getting them. But it does not need to be just in pull-out groups like AIG, because if it is, then potentially we're increasing that divide again. But we need to be talking to them about digital citizenship, media literacy. They can start becoming aware of AI generated content. You can do little tests like that with them as well, see if they can pick out the real person, things like that. But the digital learning standards as well, the portrait of the graduate, and then talking about AI in age appropriate contexts that they would understand. But in middle school, it really is appropriate for our students to start engaging with AI, but in a more guided way, such as School AI, Magic School, where the teacher is creating, the teacher is monitoring it, and they have AI literacy first, so they're being taught the critical awareness. And then in high school, we really feel like that our students do need experience with these tools, and preferably the real tools they're going to be using in the real world eventually. But those teacher-created bots like School AI, Magic School, Mizu, things like that are a good starting point, or to train them. Or if that's all you can use, then that's better than nothing. So we really do recommend that. But AI literacy, the definition of AI literacy, this comes from Digital Promise. It is building the skills, knowledge and skills to enable you to critically understand, use, and evaluate AI systems and tools, and participate ethically in a digital world. And so all of those three aspects of it, the use, understand, and evaluate, are all part of AI literacy. And I really like their definition. So understanding, and again, they need to know what it is and what it's not. It's not human. It is an algorithmic program, how it works at a basic level. And our AI 101 webinar that we did a few weeks ago has a lot about that. But we also have a lot of resources to teach that to students. They need to know potential benefits and risk, how to use it responsibly. And really the only way to really become AI literate is to get your hands on the technology. You can have somebody talk to you about it all day, but if you're not actually using it, you really won't be able to attain a proficient level of AI literacy. But they really need to be evaluators of the technology, be critical thinkers, being that human in the loop. And then, of course, ethically participating, making sure they're following policy, school policy, disclosing their use of it, and mitigating bias and inaccuracies. And so addressing concerns and limitations, there are concerns, obviously. Data privacy is a big one. We've got a lot of information in previous webinars about data privacy, but we need to make sure we're teaching people how to protect PII. AI bias is a big one. I did a whole webinar just on ethics, and so it talks a lot about bias and how to mitigate bias, how to not over rely on it. I did a webinar on the AI, the 0 to infinity, talking about different levels of use and the rapid evolution. We need to make sure that people are trying to stay up to date on it. Probably not to the level that I do because it's like a full-time job, but at least having somewhere that you can kind of keep up with the most impactful things. And I'm actually going to start doing a webinar once a month just on that. Just what are the most recent things this month that happened that you need to know about as an educator, because you don't have the capacity to follow it all, I'm sure. And then equal access. We've talked about that already. We need to make sure that we're getting this equally to all students, no matter where they are. And I've added this slide because it's just really pertinent and important. We're talking about data privacy. This is courtesy of Alicia Ladow from Transylvania County Schools. But just this would be a great, and there's a link here to download it, because the data privacy is such a concern. I would post this all over the school, post it behind the copiers, post it anywhere, and talk to your teachers and your students about it, because these are the things that are off limits that we should not be putting in any open AI tool. And learning about it before learning with it. Our leaders, first of all, our education leaders need to know about it. And so these are just links, but these are things that you can share with education leaders if they need it, to help them kind of get up to speed at a high level of AI in education. And there's a list of really good links here of some of the legislation, and I've got a few things to add to that as well. But I really recommend that the leaders in your school are aware of these things from the U.S. Department of Education. Of course, the North Carolina guidelines are there, and a few other things. But these are some things for teachers. We have some really good resources on our guidelines that teachers can use that are free. Of course, the guidelines themselves, if you have not read the AI guidelines, or if your teachers have not read them, it really is just a good crash course in AI for education. It's not just a list of thou shalt and thou shalt nots. It has a lot of information in there to help people kind of get up to speed who need a crash course. And so I would recommend finding a plan where you work through that, and maybe a section at a time in a PLC or something, and really discuss it. Our webinars, which you're here now, but AI for Education has a really good essential guide to AI for educators, which is a free online course, and they just updated it last week, and they've updated it frequently, so it does stay up to date. And that's free. It's something that could be done on demand, and as a district you could come up with some kind of a plan for them to provide evidence of completion and give CEU credit for it. They also have lots of wonderful webinars and student curriculum. Code.org has an AI for Educators course as well. It's a little more advanced. The prompting gets pretty advanced in that course, but probably as a second step, it would be a good second step. Common Sense Media has some great stuff. Google and Microsoft both have some good tools, so whichever ecosystem your school lives in, you might want to go that route, but they're great resources in all of those. But what's important for our staff is that the professional development cannot be a one and done with AI. It needs to be ongoing and job embedded. And so there needs to be continuous learning throughout the year. They need to be actually using it in their practice. And then it needs to be collaborative. They need to be able to come back in PLCs or something and talk with others about their successes and their struggles and share with each other. And then there needs to be hands-on experience where they're actually using it to create lesson plans or brainstorm ideas and things like that. And but students also need AI literacy. They should be learning about it first, and then at least a basic level of AI literacy, and then learning with it. It is something that I feel like is going to be important, as we've already talked about. And as they get older, they need to be working with it in more complex ways. But we've already talked about kind of the increased focus, the things that we're already doing here, we should be doing: computer science, digital learning standards, the portrait of the graduate. All of those help reinforce AI literacy. But adding to that, media literacy, especially about AI generated content, which we've talked about today, critical thinking, ethics is huge. We really need to be discussing the ethics of AI and learning about AI and learning with AI. And so our content connection just broken down a little bit more there, but we've already talked about them. So I am going to move past that. But this is a poster that you've probably seen before, and it is in our guidelines. But again, this is something that really could be posted around school and referred to. It is updated recently, and AI for Education updated it on their website as well. But the second E was edit, and we've made it engage to kind of stress that interactivity that needs to go on in order to get the correct output. But I would recommend teaching this to students and talking about it, posting it around, and teachers as well, because it's important that we teach, model, reinforce, and then wash, rinse, and repeat. This is something that we've got to continually remind students and educators about. There are ways to teach about AI even if you're not allowed to use AI. And so if that's what you're waiting for, the go ahead for your kids to get on an AI tool, I would start teaching about it anyway. And then when that comes along, of course, I would jump on it. But you can teach conceptual lessons, talk about AI stories in the news. And I'll tell you, there's AI stories in the news every day. Of course, age appropriately. Ethical debates. Students can have debates about how people are using AI and the stories you hear in the news. And then, of course, analyzing AI portrayals in books and movies is a good way of discussing it as well. But in elementary, again, we don't really encourage using the bots, but there are ways to use it and teach about it, such as talking about their daily lives. They've all seen their moms do this, I'm sure. They've all interacted with Siri or Alexa or their Echo bot, things like that. So we can talk about those things and help them understand that those are examples of AI. Media literacy, we've talked about that a lot, but they really need that. Evaluating those images and video and text and trying to see if they can determine what's real and what's not. You could even make those yourself in little kindergarten appropriate ways or whatever. Building computational thinking, understanding algorithms, relating to AI technologies. There's a lot of block-based programming, and we'll look at some of those. Robotics as well. That computational thinking skill will really help them when they get to the point of working with AI too, and building prompts that are effective and working through that step-by-step process. And then creativity and collaboration. My two favorite tools for all ages are Canva and Adobe Express. And if your school allows it and you have the appropriate permissions, those can be used K-12. They can be used with any age. And of course, creativity is also a very important future job skill that shouldn't be overlooked. And so those will help develop that as well. Here are some other links for different sources that you can go to if you're looking for some activities to use with your elementary students. The Day of AI has some great stuff, and then there are lots of others here as well. That real or fake game that we played earlier, I've put that there. There's a Say What You See, help them learn image prompting. And so all of these are good. And Minecraft also has some new stuff. I have a screen on that in a minute that I'll show you if your school is using the Minecraft for Education. Of course, that requires some setup by your administrators, but I think that would be worthwhile. And it is available on Chromebooks now as well. And so that was new as of last year. And so there's several other things there, but this is one of my favorites. It's been around for a while, from code.org. And they are adding lots of new stuff too in anticipation of Hour of Code this year. And so this AI for Oceans game is a great little game, interactivity, where it teaches them about machine learning and how machines learn. And so I would encourage taking time for that. Kids will enjoy it too. It's fun, it's engaging, it has videos, a really good activity if you haven't done it. Yeah, for elementary, there are some limitations, Kristen. And if your district signs up for the district-wide plan, the district admin can open those things up. But even if they can't use the AI tools, like they can use the image generator, they can't use the text one or the video one. But just the idea of teaching them creativity is really, really important. And that helps with AI literacy as well. And so if you have the district admin, yeah, there are some tools that are not available only available to high school. The right tool in Canva is only available to high school and only if you turn it on. But there are some, text tools are still through ChatGPT. Yep, you're correct. Okay, Canva, of course, is another one. We've got Canva here. Most people are familiar with Canva, but again, it has some really, really good creative uses, and they are age dependent. And you don't get any of them if you don't have the district plan, is my understanding. If you have a district plan, the district admin can open some things up depending on the age of the student, but they still get all of the creation capability with it. And so, there was a link there about the district implementation. If you haven't done that, that really is the route to go with Canva. Adobe Express, if your district uses Adobe tools and you have Adobe sign-ins, it is a 100% free tool as well. And it is available K-12 with permissioning. And it does allow you to do a lot of the creative things like AI image generation as well. Adobe announced last week also that they're coming out with a video tool, an AI video tool. And so that will be coming soon. With middle school, of course, we have a little more flexibility with middle school. There are a few more things that they can do, and I'm running short on time, so I'm going to be kind of zipping through here, but some of these we've already looked at, the deep fake game, and there's another deep fake game there. But there's some videos on code.org for middle school too that really help them to understand the basics of AI. And so I would encourage you to check some of those things out. But the one that I recommend the most, if you can only do one thing for middle school, I would do the Canva Common Sense Media lessons, and they're actually 9 now. They've added another one, but they really are helpful. They're short, and you can edit them and make them work with this different situation, but it gives you like a teacher slide deck, a student slide deck. It includes videos and worksheets, and they're really good. And of course, code.org is a very trusted source. And so if you have a plan to get some AI literacy to your kids in homerooms or whatever the case may be, oh good, somebody's doing it, Winona's doing it. These are a great way to start. And then all those other things are good additions to it, but that would be where I would start. I've also got some information on here about school AI. A lot of people, for students who, if you want to use chatbots with students, this does not require them to sign up for an account. The teacher can create it, and they just have to join with a code. And Stacy is kind of an expert in school AI, and she does a lot of webinars around school AI as well. But it's a really good tool for middle school and even high school. There's some great things you can do with it. And they have a terrific privacy policy. And so I've put the privacy policy here because it's one of the clearest, most obvious, and one of the best privacy policies that I've seen. But of course, your district would have to evaluate that and decide if it's something that you can use or not. But it doesn't require students to create an account, so that kind of lowers the bar a little bit as far as third party goes. But I would ask your CTO or whoever's in charge in your district about that. And then, of course, for high school, we need to think about those same things: the computational thinking, creativity, media literacy, understanding AI. And a lot of the same things you can use in the middle school are also on the high school plan, but I've added a few other things here that I like. The media literacy is there, but there's this deep fake lesson from AI for Education that I really like, and I've got it. But they can also, there's some ideas here about just helping them to evaluate images on the web, but we'll look at a couple of these individually. I did add this screen about Minecraft because this was just announced a couple of weeks ago, but they've added this AI Foundations course. And so again, if your district is set up for Minecraft, there is some setup for that. It's not something you can just decide to do. There's some setup to get it to work on the Chromebooks and things, but it's really, really good. And so I would encourage you to check that out, and maybe even request it. If not, there's a link there to kind of go to the whole thing about Minecraft education. But it walks through this little video right here, kind of explains AI. Generative AI, and it's a cute little video. These I've talked about before, but this is also a great tool to use in high school and middle school. These AI snapshots from AI education do not require you to have AI, because the kids don't have to have access to an AI tool. They're just little conversation starters to have kids talking about ethical dilemmas in AI. And if you click that link right there, you do have to give them some information, and then they'll send you a link to a whole drive folder that has 180 of them, and they're divided up by the 4: math, English, science, and social studies. And then this gives you a whole little PDF about how to use them. And so that's a really good thing to do. Code.org, again, we've talked about that video series. It's a good one. AI for Education has lots of other things on their downloadables that I would encourage you to check out, helping explain it. But the AI generated deep porns is a concern, and again, I think that's something we need to be talking to our kids about, the consequences of that. And we've already kind of talked about that, but this is the lesson I was talking about. It's totally free, and I would encourage you to make a place in your schools for all students to get it, in a homeroom, a first block, something like that, where you've got some discussion about it. It looks like somebody else is doing the Minecraft one too. It looks like y'all got it going on, Winona. What district are you from? If you don't mind dropping it in the chat. I should know. I know your name, but I don't remember. But just some final reminders, because I'm out of time. Always AI literacy first, then guided practice, critical evaluation before you turn them loose on it. Very, very important. And then I've got some things here for learning with high school, and those are all in our guidelines as well. But when your students get access to a chatbot, there are 4 really good lessons from AI for Education that I've linked there as well. These are also great for teacher trainings. If you want to go and just train teachers and have them play the role of student before they implement it in their own class. And they have 2 different versions, one for 7 to 9 and one for 10 to 12. But again, they do require the use of a chatbot. And so those will not be for everybody. But my call to action is make sure you're infusing AI literacy, at least in high school this year, and hopefully planning to expand it to middle school and elementary next year. And then this is the slide I told you about that has a place to make a copy of that template. And then you can remix it as long as you follow that Creative Commons license. You can remix it and break it into separate presentations for your school if you want. But we do need your feedback, and for giving us your feedback, you get a CEU, a certificate for CEU credit. And so I'm going to leave that screen up and see if anybody has any questions. I am over time, so if you have to drop off, I understand that. But if you want to unmute or pop something in the chat, anything for discussion. Winona, I'm curious when you're getting those things in, if you have set aside a set time, how you're scheduling the AI literacy. If you don't mind, you're welcome to come off chat or come off mute and just say it if you want to. But
yes, good morning, everyone. The way we've been doing it is I started like a summer session PDs for the students, for the staff. And we had a series of PDs.
I think you got muted again somehow. I'll unmute you. Okay, go ahead.
We started a series of PDs over the summer in July that we had teachers come out to, and we offered our teachers stipends. And we started there, and we did like you said, we did the trainings where the teachers were the students. And we've been gradually incorporating it into starting with high school. And we added 7 classes this year where we did have a 4 block. We went to 7. So the 7th class of the day is their digital teaching and learning class or AI class.
Oh, awesome. Okay, that's wonderful. Okay, and Stacy did drop the feedback in the chat as well if anybody wants to do that. But I'd love to hear what anybody else is doing. If you don't have to go and you want to come off mute, I'd love to hear what people are doing to implement AI literacy, or what your plans are if you're not doing it, if you have plans. Okay, well, I'll stay on. If you want to come off mute anytime, you're welcome to, but I do appreciate you coming today, and I hope it was helpful to you. And this afternoon we have another webinar at 3:30, and Stacy, I've already forgotten what it is. It is Reaching Every Reader, Utilizing AI to Level Up Your Classroom Resources by Lindsay Sipe. And so same place at 3:30, and the registration link is on the website if you haven't registered for it and you would like to attend that. We would love to see you there as well. And I hope y'all have a great day.
Hey, Vera.
Hey.
I have a question off topic of AI literacy, more on at the district level, working on getting our guidelines. There are tons of awesome resources out, but is there something that has like a timeline or a chain of steps somewhere? Because I'm trying to lead that initiative, and we're all crazy busy, but I just am struggling with
The
where to
chain of
start.
steps for creating the guidelines.
Yeah, it's like we've got our policies in place based on the state policies, et cetera, but just the implementation guidelines, the expectations within schools from a district perspective.
Well, we have a few good examples of district guidelines that have already been submitted, and some of them have kind of a plan. Their plan forward. Catawba's is one that comes
Yeah.
to mind. Marty Sharp, and he wouldn't mind. He's given me permission to share that one out. If you want, I'll drop
Okay.
it in the chat. Let it just give me a moment to find it.
Okay.
But
That'd be
like they
great.
have a plan, and you'll obviously have to adjust it because they're implementing AI literacy in the high school this year.
Yeah.
With the train the trainer model, and they got grant funding, so they're in a little bit still the kind of the
Yeah.
overall plan might be of help to you. But let me find it. And then there's a sample one. I don't know if you saw that Amanda Bickerstaff shared with us last year that she helped a school create, and I can share that
Okay.
with you too. It's not North Carolina, but it's just a very good, simple example.
Okay. That'd be great.
I'm going to drop Kataba's in the chat right now, and then I will drop that other one as well. But every district is kind of having to do it differently, so there's not really one set roadmap
Yeah.
of steps to take. This is Catawba, so I'm dropping that one in.
Okay.
And then this one is the Park School, Parks View School or something that Amanda shared with us last year in our collaborative and gave us permission to share out, which is a
Okay.
really good, it's much briefer, but it's a good example of kind of like a good starting point that has
Okay.
the basics. And of course, this needs to be a living document that will be
Oh,
updated
yeah.
and changed frequently anyway. Um,
Hmm.
and so starting with something small and then adding to it as I would say just get something on the books, even if it's very
Yeah.
basic, and then add to it, because we're all going to be learning for the indefinite future. It will have
Oh,
to
yeah.
change frequently anyway.
Yeah, and we're trying to move forward. I'm with Iredell Statesville Schools. We're trying to move forward with our plan for the grant we wrote without the money, because that's what we do in public ed. We got to keep moving forward. So I'm still working on secondary Gen AI collaborative to train teacher leaders, et cetera. So we've got some things in mind, but just the district level stuff and guidelines, that's where I'm trying to get so that we can move forward.
Well, just remember that if we can be of help to you, to let us know.
Okay.
The
And I reached
consult,
out to Lindsay,
yeah,
to
Lindsay's your
see if she would
consultant.
meet and
That's what I was
stuff.
going to
Yeah.
say. Yeah. But I'm happy to help as well. I was at Iredell Statesville last week with the CTO teachers.
Yes, I was
CTE
invited to be there, but I was in Ocracoke with Stacy.
Yeah, well, you got some good stuff there, I'm sure.
That's right.
Mhm.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So, Vera, I can tell you a little bit about what we're doing if you want.
Okay, I'd love to hear it. Tell me where you're from again. I recognize you, but
Lincoln County, Jeff Cabot.
okay.
So Dr. Belcher released a video at the end of this, right before school started, giving a guideline to teachers about basically what we're allowing at this point and what we want people to do. So I did a intro class as part of the work days. A few people showed up, but and I'm doing a class tomorrow afternoon on working with AI with students specifically.
So have they opened AI for students there, or is that just like in the future plans?
Pretty much. I mean, teachers in his guidelines, he says that teachers are allowed to use it. Of course, and they have to use it with full supervision of the teacher. That's the main thing, that they use it. That they're not using it on their own. That they're using it with teacher guidance, and
Okay. So they have students have are able to get accounts.
Yeah, well, we have Canva. And honestly, I haven't gotten that far to see how much I'm actually looking at a student login to see what they can do right now. But honestly, I haven't checked like Chat GPT or anything like that or Gemini.
Mm-hmm.
But any advice you want to give me? You've indicated, I mean, it's overwhelming the amount of material that is out there.
It is. Mm-hmm. It is. Yeah. Well, I think just guiding them as much as you can and helping them to understand that if you can help them learn ways that they can use it to not replace their own thinking, that helps them kind of realize that kids can do that too. But kids have to be taught. I mean, they're going to try to use it to cheat. I mean, that's
right.
And so.
And that's the biggest concern I've heard from teachers over just the course of time. Cheating is the biggest fear. But but it's useful in so many ways.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're trying to get some more guidance developed too, and examples of use and things like that. But it's just there's so much going on. My time has just been pretty limited. But working on a Canvas course for teachers as well.
Oh, great! That's good.
It'll start with the intro to AI. I mean, I'll try to do one module at a time. And yours may already have that kind of down, but eventually we'll get some stuff in there too with example use cases with students and all. But I mean, they can. I'm sure you have seen that zero to infinity framework that we have in the guidelines. It has a tool, a GPT. There's a link to a GPT on there now that you can use as kind of a teaching tool. What are some ideas for a level 1 assessment? What would it look like? And they can put that context in there, like how old the kids are and what tool they have available to them, like whether they have Chat GPT or not, or just school AI. And you can add context like that. And that's a really good thing to use in a workshop, just to help people kind of get over that first hurdle of understanding what a lesson plan might look like. Yeah. And the level 1 speed, like using it as an assistant, like brainstorming or getting feedback, and which is how they should start anyway. I mean, I think so.